Hello there, everybody, and welcome to the entertainment headquarters, and of course, another review. But this time, I'm not alone. This time, I'm with my good friend, Mr. Jake Hall, Kaiju Enigma. Welcome, Jake.
Hello there.
Hello there. And the reason we have gotten together is because I mentioned I had not long watched this recently, I guess, horror animal attack movie. And Jake just happened to say, guess what? I've seen it too. So I thought, well, why don't we get together and do a review on it? And here we are. So the film that we are here to review is none other than Hunger, or Hungry Hippos, which, as we know, there are a lot of animal attack movies that have come out over the last few years, and animal attack movies have become a genre, or giant creature features have become a genre ever since 1975 with Jaws. Jaws was the cornerstone that brought out the fear of entering the water, thanks to that particular film. So other film studios decided, guess what? Why don't we capture on the success of Jaws and create our own animal attack movie or creature feature? We had back in the 80s, we had Grizzly, we had Orca. There was an abundance of these type movies. There was Alligator, that's another one. And then they kind of subsided for a bit in popularity, but then back in the 90s, these kind of creature features returned in many ways, or animal attack movies, because we had Arachnophobia, we had Anaconda, and we even had Congo with the monkeys.
Yep.
So they've always been around, but sharks, snakes, and spiders have always been kind of the get go. They've been at the forefront because a lot of people hate snakes, spiders, and sharks. And now we're going down a different route because now we have an animal attack movie about a crazy hippo.
Yep.
So, J. Cole, what was your thought when you first heard about Hungry?
Well, I had seen it like on social media, like Facebook and all that, and I was like, interesting. And then I finally, I ordered the DVD off of Amazon, and I was like, you know what, I want to watch. I could have went to a Walmart that was in another town, but I was like, I don't feel like driving there, so I'll just order the darn thing. And when I first watched it, because I was expecting this to be like in Africa or like Australia or something unique.
Mm-hmm.
I was not expecting, minor spoiler, folks, if you haven't seen the film, just a minor, was
Well, we're
not,
all going to talk about it, so.
yeah, I was not expecting it to be in the bayou, especially at the beginning of the film where uh, it starts off like in this swampy area. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so we're in a swamp, kind of like in Australia. And then I see this crocodilian thing with a tracker. And I was like, wait a minute, is that an alligator? And as the alligator, because apparently it's stalking, I think, a turtle or a frog that's on a, it gets attacked. And you somewhat see it like in the background blurry, all the water shooting up over there. And then you see its head like, and then it disappears, and I'm just like, huh, interesting.
Yes.
And throughout the film, I was just like, oh, this story gets better and better.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about it. So, Hungry is a 2026 British survival thriller film written and directed by James Nunn. It stars Madison Davenport, Tracy Bonner, Joaquin de Almeida, Michael Crusoe, Samantha Cohen, Olivia Bernstone, and Jim Memenskman, and River Kodak. The film follows vacationers on a bayou boat tour in Louisiana who end up fighting for their lives when a ferocious hippopotamus turns them into prey. So there we go. So this film basically starts where you see these people after the incident Jake's mentioned. They all meet up and they're all going on this boat tour. And basically you have Sistine, you have Hannah, who are best friends, and basically Hannah's encouraged Sistine to go on this trip because she's got a lot of stuff going on at home. Her mom's sick, she's lost her job. Then you have Dion, who is the lady in the life jacket there. She's basically there at the bayou because she's been sent there by her ex-husband, who she's got kids who are her stepkids, and he's basically forcing her to do things out of desperation. So she can see the kids, and he makes her says, if you want to see your kids, I want you to go on this trip, such and such, which made no sense to me in the plot. You know, why would your husband send you to the bayou to go on a boat trip to take pictures of crocodiles, and that's how you're being forced to see your kids? Unless he was the one who put the fucking hippopotamus in the water and he was hoping to get chomped to death, which, stay tuned.
Yeah.
And then you obviously have Michael Cruel as Rodrigo, who is, I believe, is the one who is the boat tour captain.
Yeah.
You have Walker, who is this man who's in charge of boat tours, who owns like the local bayou museum where he's got the skulls of all these different creatures that he personally has hunted. Yeah. You have Sally, who is a nurse, who is a mother. You have, I think it's her son, Mikey, and then there's her father, Tim, and them are in this, all on this boat. So you have this one family, Tim, Mikey, and Sally. You have best friends who I said who are Sistine and Hannah. Then you have on our own Dion, all on this boat. And then all of a sudden, Rodrigo decides to take them on a boat cruise, but he doesn't go the normal route. And he has a tracker for these alligators.
Especially one whose name is Ben, and they're tracking his device because the lady that's wearing the life vest paid him extra to find the biggest gator that they could find, which oddly enough was Ben. Well, they end up going off route, off the normal routine because of that. And because of that, they end up finding Ben, but he's mutilated. I mean, all you see is his head and the back half of his body, and the center's just like all cut up. And she's like, is that Ben? And I'm just sitting here like, I just wanted to go, no, that ain't Ben. It's just a statue of Ben. Yeah. Oh my God, I didn't. I didn't like that character at all.
Well, she was purposely annoying. So the actor
yes,
who was casting her was deliberately made to make the character insufferable and annoying, so the audience would dislike her. And she does a pretty good job of delivering what she's being paid to do.
Oh yeah, I mean, because of that, they're trying to go back, and that's when they get rammed by an unknown entity under the water, causing the boat to turn off. And she goes up into the tree. Everybody's going up in the tree, but the captain is nowhere to be seen. Well,
yes, but before that happened, don't forget, when he sees Ben, he's in complete shock. and he starts acting very suspicious, and this is where the dad, Tim, suspects that something's not right, and he goes, "Are we even meant to be out here? Are we even meant to be in this part of the bayou?" And that's when basically he has to admit that he's brought them to a different location that isn't on the tour, and that is because, like you said, the character of Dion has paid him extra money to showcase where this larger crocodile is, and this part of the bayou is kind of protected. And that's when all of a sudden, as you said, boom, 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 the boat's knocked by this unknown thing in the water. The boat gets tipped up, and this is where all of them end up going their separate ways. The captain's dragged underwater by something. Hannah and the two best friends, which is Hannah and Sistine, climb one part of a tree. Dion gets her own tree.
Oh yeah, because she can't swim.
And then you've got Mikey, Tim, and Sally end up getting their own part right next to them. So they're now all trapped in these different trees where all you see is the water down below. And then they realise the captain's missing. Suddenly the captain is discovered floating in the water. They manage to take him over to like this area, and they manage to get him out the water. Tim rescues him. And that's when Sally, who is the nurse, starts looking at his wound and realises it's a very deep wound that basically missed his artery, but it's so big, it's like a bite mark, and even she cannot tell what kind of animal has made a bite mark that big.
Yep. And as they're trying to heal him up, they're trying to get all the supplies that are in the water and stuff. And then out of the corner where the brunette is in the tree, Hannah, you see this shape just coming up and out of the water. And they're like, what in the world? And then the dad ends up going into the Tim. He ends up going in the water to help. Was it Mikey or one of the other? I can't remember.
Well, Hannah ends up in the water. So right. Mikey goes to save Hannah. Sorry, not Mikey. Tim, the dad, goes to save Hannah. But as he's swimming to water, he's telling her, "Swim towards me, sweetheart, I'll save you." And next thing you just see his body sink under the water and just a massive pool of blood, basically being chewed in half.
Yep.
And Sally loses her shit because she's just witnessed her dad be chomped up. And then you still don't fully see the hippopotamus. It's basically what you would see on a wildlife documentary. You might just see like the head of an animal, or you just see like its nose and the water spitting from its nose and its ears fluttering, and then it goes back under. You don't get a full glimpse of this full size of this hippopotamus. And then Hannah realizes she can't swim that way because the hippo's there, so she tries to swim a different way. Suddenly, this is when Sistine reaches down and tries to pull her up, back up the tree, but then suddenly her arm, because the full weight of Hannah is hanging onto her arm, and she's hanging onto the side, her arm is dislocated and snaps. And you hear the crunch of a dislocated arm. And then she literally, Hannah, suddenly, you just see this massive, she can't pull her up, and you can just see the shadow in the distance, and you know something's coming for her. So Dion's on the other side on her tree. So Hannah tries to swim to the tree, and then Dion kind of climbs down, but she can't swim and is frightened, and she's fucking annoying. And so she reaches down to help Hannah, and Hannah's slowly climb up the tree. And you get a little bit up the bark of the tree. Next thing you know, you just see this big thing dive out the water and jumps her down, and you just see her disappear in the water in a pool of blood. And this is where everybody is absolutely terrified because they now know what the hell this thing is. That it's in the water. It is a hippo.
And a big ass hippo, as that matter.
But things get strange because the Walker, who is the man who owns the Bayou Boat Company with the different boat, he had that museum.
Yep.
And he had all these different skeletons of all the animals he's hunted, including a hippo skeleton. And the hippo skeleton, he said he killed in Africa because hippos are only in Africa. And only other wild hippos are there. Any other hippo you see is probably in captivity in a zoo somewhere.
Yep.
And this is where Hannah and everyone's trying to think, well, how is there a hippo in the freaking bayou? How did this thing get you? How is this hippo in the wild, in the bayou, away from Australia or Africa, wherever they come from? And this is where you as an audience member start thinking, well, that's a very good point.
Yeah, because I was sitting here thinking, how in the world did they get this hit? Which, in a way, you kind of find out kind of down the line in the film, which we'll get to in just a sec. So after they're still figuring out, the owner is like, he hasn't radioed back in yet or hasn't come back, the captain. And come to find out that the tracking on the boat is not on. And they need to turn that on. So the mother goes over to, what is the redhead's name again? That gets her arm this way.
Sistine.
Sistine gets her arm, and when she did that, I was like, ugh, good Lord. If my brother watched that, he would probably be cringing right there because he's, I'll get to that another time. But anyway, so after they reset, they're trying to create a plan to go under the boat to try to turn on the tracker. Well, the only way they can do that is to use the gasoline that they found and create a ring of fire. So that way they can do that, kind of in this image. So as they're doing that, she ends up going into the water and, trying to find the tracker. She ends up finding it, and then Mikey here scares the bejesus out of her, and he's like, "You need to come back up now. The fire's dying." And they go back up, and as soon as they get back up, he turns around and straight in his face, just kind of like this, you see the head of the hippo, ears twinkling, and then from the nostrils.
Yeah, that is when he's on the that's when he's standing and they've got the gasoline. And then the annoying prick who is Dion, she's trying to get into the boat. She's now blaming the boat captain, who now I believe has got sepsis and is slowly dying of his wound because Sally, the mother's done everything she can to help him, but unfortunately, you can slowly see he's deteriorating. And she's shouting at everybody, Dion, saying, "I need to get out of here now. We've got the gasoline. Put it in. Let's drive out of here." And she starts arguing with Sally and everybody in the boat. And then her son, Mikey, is, trying to, soften the situation, getting in between everyone. Says, "We need to start arguing." But then Dion, as she's trying to get into the boat, she slips and she pushes Mikey by accident and he falls off the boat. And as he's, swimming around trying to catch himself, that's the moment you once again see the hippo with its head out the water, taking one big, look at him. And this is the saddest death for me because he didn't deserve to die.
Oh no.
He's like, he's a young teenage guy who has a crush on Hannah, who died earlier. He had
Yeah.
because he kept staring at her tits and at her arse and looking at her going, I'm
Yeah.
a teenager, but I want a piece of that, And then the hippos, the ears are wing, it's no, and it's sniffing around Mikey, and then all of a sudden, it just gollops him up and pulls him under the water, and Sally loses her shit. Because in one incident, she's just watched her father die, and now she's watched her son die, and now she's totally bereft with grief.
Yep. And then the owner finally shows up after the tracker has been turned on, and he's got a trank gun, which it kind of surprised me because I thought he actually had like an actual rifle. And then as he arrives and the hippo is fixing to get ready to attack, he shoots, and it's just a trank dart. I'm like, wow, I wasn't expecting a trank dart. So that led me to believe that he knew that this hippo was already here. I mean, he had to if he had the darts.
It makes you believe that he knows because, like I say, he talked about how these hippos are only from Africa. There's no way they're around. So when he finally sees it for himself, he is shocked. And he was actually going to rescue them and take them on the boat and take them away, even with the hippo in the water. When they were saying, oh, there's a hippo here, and I think he was doubting them. But then soon as he sees it for himself, he's like, I want you all to get back in the trees because I'm going to hunt this motherfucker down. He's seen it as another opportunity to catch another prize.
Yep.
And this is the best part, or one of the best parts, because up to this point, we've only seen flashes of the shadows of the hippo under the water. We've seen it jump out the water, but it's so fast you don't see it. Or you just see glimpses, and then the only other time you see the hippo is with its little head out the well, not little head, but its head out the water, the ears flicker and its snout spitting water out. You'd never get a full glimpse of how big it is next to the humans. And this is where, because it's finally showing at its head and it's shown its full size next to Walker, how turns with his light, and as he turns with the light when he's looking in the water for it, it's actually on the land, on the hill, on the riverbank next to him, and he turns and you just see the full size of the hippo, and it's got its jaws wide open and it's roaring in his face.
Yep. And he tries to ditch into this yeah, that's a big ass hippo.
And big motherfucker.
Yep. And so he hides in between a little gap in a tree, and the hippo's trying to get to him. Well, he actually gets his leg injured because of that. But
it actually pins his leg down and it drags him into the water.
Yep, and the captain from the boat who's dying makes one last effort to shoot a trank dart, which he ends up aiming, and it saves him. But that was his last act because after that
he dies saving Walker.
Yep, and Walker makes it back to the boat, and as he's making back to the boat, the hippo is somewhere, and he's like trying to get his gun up. But as he's doing that, the mother, who has completely lost it, just starts swimming. It's like, I'm coming for y'all. I won't leave y'all. I'll be there.
Yeah, she's that grief stricken because of the death of her dad, Tim, and her son, Billy. She actually starts singing something. I can't remember the rhyme. It's something like "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star," like a children's rhyme. And as she's singing, it's like she's in a trance, swimming in the water towards the hippo. And then you actually see that I go through the fog in the river, but you don't actually see her again, and you don't actually hear her scream, so you don't actually know if she did get killed by the hippo.
That is true.
She disappears into the fog around the bayou, in the water, and that's all this is happening with the hippo and Walker and the Sally and Dion. Not Sally. Sally's the mother, grief stricken. Sorry, with Dion and what was her name again? It's got such a unique. Says Sistine. So Sistine and Dion are the last ones in the boat. She swam off in a distraction, and then they see that Walker isn't dead, so they go and get Walker, and instead of turning the engine of the boat on it, which would attract the hippo, they get the oars in the boat and they start paddling the boat, rowing the boat out of the area.
Yep, and thankfully, Sistine had the camcorder where they were videoing, and it had night vision, so that way they could see. Well, as they're seeing, they come across this abandoned like building, maybe boating station, whatever it was. So
it looks like an abandoned like boat station. It's totally abandoned. There's like a little harbour part where wooden harbour part where they park the boat up, and they think, oh, let's go inside and see if there's a radio or a way to contact help. And this is where we find out the reveal of how the hippos ended up in the bayou.
Yep, because there was cages in the back, and you start hearing this noise, and they're like, what is that? And you see a baby hippo trapped underneath the gate, and you kind of figure out, oh, this hippo is a mother and it's protecting her young, but she can't protect it because it's trapped. Well,
so it's kind of went wild.
Yeah.
And you also see in another cage a skeleton of a hippo, and they ignore the baby hippo because they realise we don't want to go near it because we don't know where the mother is. But when they go into the actual building, that's when they look through the paperwork, and it turns out that the people who owned this boat facility, or this boat that looked like a boat station, were actually in a trade deal with people in Africa, and they transported the hippos to the bayou, and I guess they were going to open some sort of, I don't know, wildlife sanctuary or something to do with the hippos, but the deal fell through and the company went bankrupt. But instead of sending, I guess, the hippos to like a zoo or back to Africa, they just abandoned them.
Yep.
And because they abandoned them with no food, no food supply or anything like that, the hippos have generally went wild. They've went wild, and basically there's more than one hippo. And Jake has a dog, which isn't featured in the film, but is beautiful to look at. You wanted Daddy.
Well, I think she's trying to get me to. I think she has finished eating, so she's wanting me to get her after meal. But I'll get it for her in a little bit. I'll get it for you in a minute.
But what ends up happening is, because these hippos were abandoned because the company either went bankrupt or when the deal fell through, instead of spending money to sort out these hippos the right way, they just abandoned them in the cages, or I guess the one in the cage where you see the skeleton probably starved to death because they just left it trapped in the cage, which I'm assuming, they said it's probably first or second generation. The other hippos that got out are probably running wild in the bayou. But this is where I got confused. And I don't know if you agree, Jake. So once they figure out what and how the hippos got there from Africa. And they couldn't figure out if they were abandoned because the deal fell through or the company went bankrupt and the hippos were just left. Suddenly he had this noise banging at the door. And they ignore the noise banging like at the door. And then they find this giant cylinder, like round tank that's full of, I guess, fuel for the boats. And they say, right, what we need to do is we need to pile some wood up, get this big cylinder, use the oil in it, light a match, which they had matches, set a huge fire in the facility, which would create a massive glow in the sky, and people would come to put out the fire and find them and rescue them. So they pile all this wood together, they get this cylinder, they pour the oil on it, they go to light the match, and then they hear that noise again, and next thing you know, this giant hippo starts walking through.
Yeah, I mean, it is and I think it might be the same one that was already in the water. So it passes through, starts attacking each individual, and they're like, we just need to light the gasoline and try to burn it.
Mm-hmm. But you see, this is why I got confused. This is what confused is because Walker said when he looked at the cages, there's more than one hippo. There's obviously a few hippos about, especially if there was a baby trapped under a gate, a dead one in a cage, like a skeleton in a cage. So I'm assuming that the one that was in the water was potentially the mother or the father. This big one that turned up to hunt them down was the father. And then obviously we see another one later. I'm assuming it was a different hippo, but since he mentioned there's more than one, but I'm assuming potentially, like you say, it's the same hippo and it's the mother protecting the infant.
Yeah, I think that's what it is because my theory is that, and then again, it could have been the dad, but the mother is more protective. So I'm going to say it's the mother that's been doing the attacking, and the father is the skeleton one that has died. So they pretty much set the place on fire. Walker ends up getting killed. I forgot how he died.
Walker gets killed because our favorite character, Dion, who is a prick, she basically, there's a door at the back. Walker says, listen, I'll light the match, I'll light this fuse, and I'll set the fire.
That's right. She locked the
and
door.
I'll distract the hippo. So Sistine and Dion go towards the door, and he thinks, right, I'll light the match, I'll distract the hippo, and once I've lit the match and distract the hippo, and the hippo's distracted by the flames, I'll just follow you through the door. But he doesn't get a chance to do that because Dion shuts the door and locks it behind her, and she traps Walker in the room with the fire and the hippo. So basically, it means they're going to die. The hippo in him's going to die. And then there's a trap door, which Dion goes down to get away because Hannah says, you go down there and try and get back to the boat. But when she falls, she breaks her leg.
Yep, and I was just like, ugh, I didn't like the bone breaking, but I don't like you, so you deserve that.
Mm-hmm. So and then she gets away, Sistine follows her, and the fire's being lit. You see the hippo riling in pain in the room with the fire. You see it getting burned up a bit by the flames. And Dion's like, right, I'm going to go back to the boat. Let's get back to the boat. But this is where Sistine says, no, I'm going to stay here and climb the cage and wait for rescue to come because it's the best thing to do. They have a bit of not an argument, but they like can't decide what to do after a few minutes. So what happens after that? Dion says, right, I'm going to go to the boat. But as she goes to go to the boat, you hear this noise. and out through the bushes I'm assuming it is the same hippo because you can see the burnt marks on its back.
Yep.
It's got scarring and burnt marks because it's clearly got out the room where the fire was. And it sees Dion and it just charges at her and it crunches her.
Well, actually, it just keeps ramming her into the cage, like boom, 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 and she's like.
But
I was like,
you just see blood spit out of her mouth, but it does it like, when it's ramming into her, because the hippo's got giant gnarly teeth, they would have been sticking in her like spikes.
and I was like, yes, she got what she deserved.
She died.
Yep.
And you want to finish the film off, for Mr. J. Hall?
Sure. So the Steen is like, I gotta help this baby hippo. So she's looking at the mother. She's like, it's okay. It's okay. I'm just gonna help. I'm just gonna help. And she's doing it very slowly so that way she doesn't agitate the mother. And she ends up freeing the baby hippo. And the mother and the baby just scamper off into the water. And as she climbs to hair, as soon as she climbs up the cage, the choppers arrive like she would, and she's just like, in her head, I'm saved. And as that goes on, it cuts away, and she's home free, and that's how the movie ends, pretty much.
Well, you see the helicopter house, seeing the giant flames over her. The helicopter's light finally touches her face and she smiles at just getting rescued. Now, the next part reminded me of Jurassic Park because she's sitting in the back of a helicopter and there's like a sunrise and it's going over the bayou and you see this tranquil, scenic view of the river and like, the marshlands, the swamplands. And then just below her, she looks down and you see these two faint images of something swimming, and it's the mother and the baby hippo swimming away. So they're like swimming away from where they were because she's finally got a baby.
Yep.
And they're swimming to wherever they need to go. But it still makes me wonder when they said there was like 6 or 7 cages, unless the other hippos died off and you never seen them, or they're out there somewhere in the bayou. They never explained where they were or what happened to them, but it also kind of left it open for a sequel.
Yep. And the sequel will be titled Hungry Hungry.
A hungry hippo.
True. Or Hungry 2. Who knows? There's so many titles you can come up with.
In all, the film itself was interesting. It was a slow burn and I didn't know if I was going to get into it. But by the end of the film, I do have mixed opinions. So my mixed opinions are, I've seen the trailer, like most trailers are there to get you excited for a movie. And the trailer shows you a lot of the violence that you see throughout the course of the film. But the film itself is a slow burn. And there is attacks, there is great, build up and intenseness to the attacks, but I was hoping for something a lot more gory. Like, for example, when they attacked Dion, I think she should have been bitten too. They should have showed you her get ripped apart. You should have seen the head get snapped off and the blood spitting through the neck. I was expecting like a much more gorier, horrifying film, because we're seeing, like, even in Jaws where you see people get killed, it's a lot more gruesome and a lot more violent. I think the concept of the movie is a good idea. We haven't had a hippo attack movie, and at the end of the day, hippos are the most dangerous land animal out there, the biggest, most aggressive, dangerous land animal. Nothing will go near a hippo.
No, because they're very territorial.
Yeah. So for me, it's a good concept, but I do feel like they missed an opportunity to make this truly something so unique and frightening. Just like how in 1975, Jaws put sharks on the map. Many ways, Anaconda put spiders on the map. Not Anaconda, Arachnophobia put spiders on the map.
Good job, Snakes. You let the spiders win.
And I think Anaconda, going back to that brought a fear of, especially them giant snakes, anacondas. I put them on the map. And we've had an abundance of different snake movies, spider movies, shark movies,
Crocodilian films.
Yeah, crocodile films, and of course we've had the odd bear movie. And there's even on the side of Hungry, he also had that other film, that low budget, called Killer Whale.
Oh yeah, that's almost kind of like had the Shallow feels. I haven't yet to watch that. I've seen bits and pieces of it, but
yeah, I've seen the trailer, and just like that, I was excited to watch it. But now I've seen Hungry, I'm more skeptical, and I don't know if I'll watch it. But it's free on Amazon, so it's free to watch on Amazon. It's worth a watch potentially, and I do believe every film, no matter how good or bad, deserves at least one watch.
Yeah,
unless you're called Avatar, that can go fuck itself. But in all, if I'm gonna rate this, it's a good concept, a good idea. It's a slow burn because it's 40 minutes in before the action happens with the hippo. The characters were okay. Dion was annoying as fuck, but that was what it was meant to be. So I give it up to the actors and the actresses that did what was written on the tin. So for me, if I'm going to read it, I'm going to give it 6 out of 10. So overall thoughts, J. Cole, and your rating?
It was a good concept. It was definitely a different type of film. Yeah, definitely a slow build up. Some of the actions were pretty decent. The graphics were pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, that's one thing I'll say, that the effects were pretty good for the hippo.
Oh yeah, and Dion can. Yeah, I didn't care for her. So all in all, my overall rating 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. That's fair as well. But yes, hippo, not hippo, hungry, whatever the fuck. It gets a 6 out of 10 from me. It gets a 7 out of 10 from Mr. Jake Hall. The Kaiju Enigma. And of course, if anyone does want to watch this film, if you're even interested, I do believe you can purchase it on streaming, like Amazon has it on and such and such. So yes, it is available to watch. Yes. So next month, just a little highlight from me. First and foremost, tomorrow we're going to be doing the Dollar Trilogy. Me, Thrash Pondupons, and DJ Anubis. This is a rescheduled stream after Anubis's internet went kaput last week. Hopefully it's back up and we're ready to go. But all of next month we are going to be doing the Samurais. That's right. September 2026 is the month of the Samurai here on the entertainment headquarters. And me and Jake Hall will be getting together for a couple of things during that month, but also be getting back together to do our next television chronicles, which Jake still hasn't decided yet, but I'm sure it's interesting what he's going to pick. Anything else outside of that, Jake, on your side?
I know next month me and Anubis will be doing the next Kaiju Spotlight, whatever day in September. I know I'm gonna be on a couple of Walter's streams whenever he does his on in September. I know there's a couple that he's gonna be doing that I really want to be a part of. So, and other than that, I'll be joining you and whoever else is gonna be on for the Last Samurai.
I guess that sounded like a Chinese or a Japanese, bell.
Well, that's my text message ring. Apparently, somebody just text messaged me. More than likely, either my mother or my brother.
But anyway, this has been a lot of fun, my friend. I'm glad we got to do this little review together, and there'll be more coming from me and Jake on the entertainment headquarters. And like I say, why don't you check out some of our friends' YouTube channels? You've got DJ Anubis of the Metal Tapping Radio. You've got Walter Ross, aka Jedi Granville of Jedi Granville Productions, which we always do some amazing content with. Also, check out Anthony Jordan and Anthony Jordan's Movies and Gaming. He does some amazing content. Big Bad Wolf Gaming is another amazing channel. You have Ulvin's channel, and of course we have Mr. Tony of the Dead, who does a lot of great unboxings and horror content. But anyway, as I always say, keep on enjoying your movies, keep on enjoying all things entertainment, and we'll catch us all at the next one.